All right, everybody, we are back again to kick off season number 6 of the Coach's Compass. I want to say thank you and welcome to everybody from all across the world. Now, remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue how this thing grow. Continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, I've got another special guest with me here to kick off season number 6. We've got Coach Maggie, retired soccer player out of Ohio State University, owner and coach of Forza Fitness. Coach, thank you and welcome to the Coach's Compass.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so exciting to have another former athlete transitioning into being a coach. And how's it been transitioning over and letting go of that title of being an athlete to now coaching athletes?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I think there's definitely a transition phase where it's weird, it's awkward. I started my career as a coach as an intern at Ohio State. So I quickly went from being the athlete. The next semester, I was in the coaching role with a lot of girls that I played with. So that was definitely something to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, that my role is different now. I actually had some strict rules. I couldn't really say hi to my friends that were on the team and certain things like that. I had to work with specific teams that weren't related to soccer, which helped me definitely grow my ability to coach, volleyball, wrestling, gymnastics, these other sports that I wasn't as familiar with, which was great. But it definitely was a hard transition. I mean, they talk about when you finish playing your sport, it's kind of like a death, and it really is.
Yes.
You have to grieve it, and I think there is a fine line between going right into the next thing, but also taking some time and being like, okay, like, this is my career something that I've done since I was 4 years old has come to a close. I'm still involved majorly with soccer, which is also, I think, a reason why I do what I do, right? Like I've done it since I was little. So it's easy to be around the sport, be around this environment, but it definitely is a hard transition for sure.
Do you feel like you fully grieved and got a chance to, you know, breathe a little bit and be like, man, like this is actually over? Because you said you did it, you pretty much your whole life, and now you're currently still working with soccer athletes. Like, have you fully given it up? Like, are you okay? And then did you ever have a dream of actually playing professionally and not actually coaching?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to continue playing. Unfortunately, I've had 2 ACL tears, both legs, one in high
Jeez.
school. My senior year at Ohio State was my second one. So my body, I think, was had given up a little bit before my mind, but I think now I'm 4 years out of college, so I've definitely taken more time for myself to understand, it was a career-ending injury, but there were a lot of other reasons why I think it was time for me to move on to the next thing. And I think just taking time and kind of really reflecting on your career and the good and the bad, and that definitely helps that process. But then also leaning on your support. I think having buddies who still play, in the NWSL and just kind of watching their journey and looking at, okay, there are some things I get to do that, they can't do because they're in that field still, in that space still, and kind of coming to appreciate I call it the NARP life, the non-athletic regular person life. I
It's a
mean, I
tough life.
I still try to say I'm athletic, but we'll see. So, yes, I do think I've definitely given myself the time and the space to, grieve the sport, and being around it still definitely helps, and it just helps continuing to feel like I am giving back to the sport that gave me so much.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about giving back right there, right? Like, and you talk about
Mhm.
going through those serious injuries. You're now working with athletes that were once in your same shoes, right? And also maybe have gone through those same types of injuries. What kind of things are you telling them and helping them as they go through this journey? Because I know beside the X's and O's, right? Like beside like what they're showing up and doing in their training, there's a whole side of like, this is a person. Right. And like, you know it yourself. Like you said, if you didn't have the good relationships with people or your support system, how are you being that support system for these young athletes?
Yeah, I would say I definitely try to get to know each of my athletes outside of their sport. I try to get to know them as people, what do they like to do? What motivates them? Where do they come from? What's their background? How did they grow up? Because I think in these moments when they do go down with an injury, like you said, it affects so much more than the physical aspects. It affects your mental ability. It affects day to day. And so I think I try to connect with them on a deeper level, as well as using what I went through to kind of give them advice on things that can help them in those moments. Right now I'm working with the University of Missouri Kansas City women's soccer team, and that group of girls, we've had a couple injuries here and there, and I think my ability to really bring in my past and be like, "Hey, these are some of the things that I did." I really used, like I said, my support. I tried to really put myself I say this all the time, embrace your role, right? As you're an injured person, you're not always out there on the field. And sometimes it's shagging balls. I'm going to be the best ball shagger that there is. I'm going to be the best cheerleader that there is. And then when you're in rehab or PT or you're with the athletic trainers, I'm going to try and crush my training every single morning and leave there like I did the best that I could. Because in those moments, I think that's all you can do. Take it one day at a time, focus on small goals to then get you to whether you're rehabbing an ACL or Achilles, whatever it is, it's day by day, right? I think that's one of the biggest thing I tell these girls. You got to kind of slow down, take it day by day.
But I mean, we're in a day and age of where everything is now, always in their face. Like there's news, there's information, there's everything that they can find. How are you, drawing the fine line of like, hey, like you got to pay attention to your training. We've got to get you some sleep, right? We got to eat correctly, and also understand that the sport isn't forever, right? Because there is an end period to this all. And then how are you kind of helping like shape these women, these young girls into being women? Because it's also like, hey, you got to think you haven't been in the industry for a very long time either. So
No.
who is also helping you learn and kind of navigate through this all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the head coach right now at University of Kansas City, Missouri, I'm talking with her a ton. She has a lot more experience than me in this field. So just kind of using her experiences to help guide me, working with the athletic trainer, working with my boss. So I have a lot of jobs. I also work at a private facility where we mostly specialize in soccer, and my boss there, super knowledgeable. He's been in the field for, I want to say 20 years. So using the people around me to help me, and then I share that information, but also sharing contacts with the girls, right? Like I am not going to give them PT advice because I'm not a PT. I'm not going to give them nutritionist, dietitian advice other than what I know to be true. I'm going to give them the contacts of the people that I know so they can reach out and do, research themselves as well too. Cause I think that is super important to make sure the girls do have that knowledge for now, but then for also later in life. The girls I coach, a couple of them might continue to play on, but a lot of them are going to take this information and they're going to go do their, you know, general fitness journeys after this. So that's also super important to me when I'm in the weight room with them. How can I make sure I'm giving them exercises and advice so they know this is stuff they can do on their own when they're done with soccer? It's great for just building and maintaining athletic ability. And as we grow as women, super important to continue strength training.
Yeah. I mean, I know you talked a little bit about your injuries and stuff that you went through, and also, being a former soccer player. What got you so passionate about wanting to be a strength and conditioning coach? And what were the titles before the titles and the certification and stuff? What were some of the things that you were chasing back then that now no longer matter to you?
Yeah, I think going through my injuries and really learning and navigating who I connected with throughout these experiences, I spent a ton of time with her name is Claire Quibido. She is now, I want to say, the head strength and conditioning coach at the Ohio State University. She works mostly with women's basketball, and she was a huge mentor for me. I was in the weight room a ton doing strictly arm day every day because I was injured. So
Big pump,
yeah, she
yeah.
would put me in a chair and she'd be like, "All right, Maggie, this is what we're gonna do." And I spent a lot of one-on-one time with her just because the situation I was in. learning how she worked, the things she got to work with, the people she got to work with, and just how she motivated me. I had a ton of respect for her. She was one of those coaches where you wanted to work hard for her. And I think that was one of my first idea of why I wanted to be a coach was because I loved that relationship between the coaches and the athletes and those coaches that you just respected the heck out of them. And whatever you were going to do, you were going to work your butt off for them. And I think at Ohio State, I had a lot of coaches like that. And so I loved that relationship. I loved going into the weight room after soccer. Maybe soccer practice didn't go how you wanted it, but you were going to crush the heck out of your pull up test, or you were going to get hype and one rep max the heck out of your squat. I think those little atmospheres I loved. I like thrived in the weight room. The weight room was the funnest place to be at. And so that definitely steered me towards, okay, I definitely want to do something in my career focusing on these aspects. My undergrad is human resources. I didn't know what I wanted to do when
I
I went
love
into
it. I
Ohio
love it.
State.
None of us actually do what we want to do to start
No.
off with.
So that was my undergrad. And then my junior year is kind of when I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I need to find something else. So at that point, I was already too deep in. I finished out with the human resources degree, and then I got my master's in kinesiology. So that was kind of where that led. But I think in the beginning, going into this field, yeah, it's definitely chasing titles. It's chasing, how can I get to the highest position? How can I work with the pros? How can I do all this stuff? And I think having these experiences with some of my athletes who, like I said, they're probably not going to go play professional, but that connection with them and watching them do something that they never thought they could do is so cool and it's amazing. And even some of my clients that I work with that aren't athletes, watching them challenge themselves and push through something that's uncomfortable and go, hey, I can do this. Like Maggie believes in me. I got this. I think those little experiences that aren't something mind blowing. Again, you're not working with some huge name person. Those experiences are what I keep waking up for. I want to keep doing this for those little moments.
Yeah, you talk about some of the weight room stuff that you soccer players did. So I worked with a soccer girl that's now the University of South Carolina,
Okay.
and the conditioning that they had when they were home and I did it one day with her, right? The assault conditioning where you go
Oh, so
45
fun.
seconds on and then 15 seconds off. You do that for 5 minutes and then you go 30 seconds on, 30 seconds. Nah, y'all soccer players are crazy. Y'all got it. I'm not doing any more conditioning with you guys. Y'all, it ain't for me. Being a former football guy, like we do conditioning, but how much y'all got to run? I'm going to leave that one up to you guys, right? Y'all got it. If you look at though, like in your career, all the wins that you've had that won't show up on the resume, what's one thing that you're most proud of to like say that you've done, but like nobody may not even hear about it?
Oh, gosh. My freshman year, I came in and I won the fitness test. And I think for me, that was something that I was super proud of. I mean, when you're a freshman, you don't know how the heck your year is going to go. You're
At
coming
all.
in, you're like, what the heck? What's going on? I always say my freshman year, I was just blacked out and people were pulling me left and right. And I was like, okay, I'm going here, I'm going there. Yeah. But I was super proud of myself because I came in fit and I knew that was one thing I could control. And I always tell this to my girls. You're always going to make mistakes. There's always going to be someone technically better than you, but something you can control is your fitness. And so I think that year being able to prove myself from day one that my name is out there. I won the fitness test. They can't take that from me. All the other stuff, like there's goods and bads, but I think that really allowed me to make an impact from day one.
So never do a fitness test with Coach Maggie. Otherwise, you'll probably die trying to beat her.
Well,
Good.
now we'll see. I'm not as fit as
It's
I
okay. You're only 4 years removed. You still got a little bit left in there. You're good. But like, there's also that internal battle of being a coach, right? That we fight with every day. We're talking about confidence, comparisons, burnout, identity. How do you manage it? And how have you learned to manage it? Like, what have been some of the like biggest ones that you kind of stick out for you? Like we look at your confidence, comparisons, burnout, identity, because we're in a day and age of social media, right? So to where everything that we do, right, we're trying to like, I wouldn't even say put our best foot forward all the time, but we're also being compared to the next soccer coach or being compared to the next strength and conditioning coach. Hey, they're doing something super cool over there. Why aren't we doing that? So how are you dealing with it?
I think being an athlete definitely has helped me deal with it better. Like I said, because as an athlete, there's always someone better than you. And if you compare yourself every day, it's just, you're going to burn yourself
It's
out. You're
trash.
gonna trash. Like, you can go so negative in your head, and I think I've done that before. So I've experienced that, and I've experienced in those moments, I play like crap. Like, I would be the worst version of myself because I'm just in my head. And so I think now as a professional and those moments come up, maybe not necessarily as big as they were when as an athlete, but the little bits of the comparison, watching things on social media, definitely realizing that authenticity is huge. I love being uniquely myself, showing up and knowing, yeah, maybe I'm not going to give them what an experience that another coach could give them, but I'm going to give them my experience, and knowing that that is good enough. I think there's definitely what am I trying to say? There are days where it's worse than other days, and just knowing that on those days, kind of sometimes I have to close my Instagram and I'm like, don't look at it right now. Today you're focusing on yourself, you're focusing on doing what you do best. And then on the days where I'm having a better day, going from there. So I think it's definitely believing in yourself and knowing that you didn't just get to where you are today with nothing, right? You have these skills, you have these experiences, and that has helped and shaped you, and just believing in that.
Yeah, because if you can fall down a rabbit hole on Instagram, you can for sure get on there and fall down, right? Especially, when you post things like reading all the comments, right? Then you go around looking on like reels and stuff or what people are doing at different gyms and trail. Man, you get to scrolling and then you get into the death scrolling and it keeps on going. And then you get into the comparison game and you're like, man, did what I put them through? Was it the right thing today? Did I do everything I could have done? But if you look at yourself in the space now, right? What's one thing that keeps you here when the days aren't exciting, right? But like today, you're like looking at it and everything you're like, yeah, this is why I'm doing what I do.
I think that connection, like I said, with the athletes, with my clients, waking up and being able to push somebody a little bit harder than if they were doing the workout by themselves. Like, that is why I do it. That's why I'm here. My ability to push athletes, but then also connect with them, and for them to come out of a session and be like, I woke up today, I was feeling weak, wasn't feeling my best, and I feel better. And that's why I do what I do.
That's amazing. Giving back to the next generation and making sure that they are going in the right way. But you fast forward 10 to 15 years now. What do you want people to say about the way you coach? Not about who you coached, but the way Coach Maggie coached.
I want them to say that I have high expectations, but I also have the ability to connect and push them in ways that they have never been pushed before. I think having the ability to have an intent, knowing the why and what we're doing, Coach Maggie has the ability to explain why this is going to help me, and also hold me to high expectations, but also be able to have connections and reasons and motivations that are going to push me.
I love it. So last thing before we get out of here, coach, what is one thing that you would tell the next young coach coming along that you wish you would have known when you first got in?
I think going along with the comparison theme, there's always going to be people doing other things. There's always going to be other exercises. There's multiple ways to get to the answer or the solution. And I think believing in your way and knowing the intent behind your way, and using, again, your knowledge, your skills, the experience you came to, is going to help you more so than trying to fit yourself in somebody else's shoes, fit yourself in someone else's coaching style. Your coaching style is uniquely you, and I think you have to roll with it and not try to fit someone else's coaching style.
I love seeing what you're doing out there, Coach Maggie, and I love following along on the journey. You're doing some amazing work. I know it's only early in the career, so I can't wait to see how you continue to grow, continue to develop, and continue to help the next generation of not only athletes, but the next coaches coming along. Right. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you taking out the time today to be on the Coach's Compass.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, and we're out.
Awesome.